Hi guys, good morning everyone. So today we are in this live session of 27th April. As you can see on the right hand side, I hope we are live now. Yes, students have started joining in. As you can see on the right hand side, ESI live writing class 27th April. This is the last class before phase 1 of ESI. From tomorrow onwards, you're going to have 3 sessions of finance management for the next 3 days, and after that we will meet after phase 1 and we'll be starting with revision plus live writing sessions for phase 2. Okay, the difficulty level is medium. Time is 1 hour 30 minutes, that is 90 minutes. There are going to be a total of 6 questions, out of which you have to write any four, sorry, sections, and 4 questions you have to write out of 6 questions. Okay, यहाँ पे आप टेस्ट स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं. Let me just show you the sample when I start the test, as in here. As I start with this section, as you can see, there are 2 sections, section 1 and section 2. Okay. Section 1, question number 1 is compulsory. Out of question number 2 and question number 3, you can write any one question. Similarly, when you go to section number 2, there are 3 questions. Question 1 is compulsory, and you have to write any one out of question number 2 and question number 3. 10 marks, 400 words for section 2, and for section 1, 15 marks, 600 words every answer. This is what you have to follow. Okay. I will be starting with the live writing test timer in a short while. Hello Anshul, good morning Prachi, good morning Pooja, good morning Jessica. अब आज कम लोग हैं, जैसे जैसे हम फेज 1 की तरफ जाएंगे लोग कम होते जाएंगे. दैट्स परफेक्टली फाइन. The objective here is very clear. आप बस आके बैठेंगे. Even if you just write the test, I'm very sure that you can improve yourself a lot, and you can be much better prepared for the upcoming examination. बस आपको बैठ के लिखना है. That's all. As you start writing, you will start improving on your own. ठीक है. एक बार टेस्ट को बंद कर देते हैं, क्विज को, and let me go back. Let me just check in the second course. Live writing class 27th April, live writing test 27th April. I open this test and I see these 2 sections. Okay. You can start with the timers. I am with the test. I am starting with the timer here. Okay, I have found the timer. Yes, stopwatch. Okay, I'm starting with the timer now. So we have a total of 1 hour 30 minutes, that is 90 minutes. Please start with the test. Your timer has started. Please start with the test. We have 13-14 students, but I want to start on time, so it's perfectly fine. If people join in, they can probably start later. Okay, they lose some time, but it's perfectly okay. Okay, so start with the test. I will see you again after probably 30 minutes. We will again, I'll try and guide you, try and remove the monotony. If you feel bored or if you feel that you cannot write anymore, I'll try and inspire you. But make sure that you keep writing. Okay, that's very important. Hello. Okay. Okay, we are just left with 3 minutes. So please try and submit your tests as fast as possible, and we will be starting with the evaluation after 3 minutes. Okay, just about 1 minute left. Don't get anxious if you are at all. It's completely fine. You're practicing these tests. This is not the final test. You have to get used to not getting anxious, whatever the situation might be. Okay. चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं एंड आई विल बी स्टार्टिंग विद जस्ट कीरत बिकॉज शी इज़ द ओनली वन हु इज़ इन द डिस्क्रिप्टिव राइटिंग क्लास। जो दूसरी क्लास है वो एनरोल्ड की है, डिस्क्रिप्टिव राइटिंग की अलग है। यू शुड नो अबाउट दैट टिल नाउ, ओके, बाय नाउ। चलिए देखते हैं what has she written. So let's come to the first question, first section, which has three questions, out of which you have to write any two. The first one is compulsory. Out of second and third, you have to write any one. Okay. तो देखिए आपने एक तो you have not mentioned the name of the question, so please do that in the final exam or in the next test. Let's go through the question. What do you mean by inclusive growth? When was the idea specifically adopted as part of India's growth strategy? इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ का मतलब क्या है और इंडिया ने कब ये आइडिया अडॉप्ट किया था? लेट मी ट्राई एंड ओपन वन सेकेंड। मैं आंसर्स भी ओपन कर लेता हूँ। लेट मी ओपन द आंसर्स ऑल्सो सो दैट इट बिकम्स ईजियर एंड इट बिकम्स मोर productive for everyone out here. Okay, what do you mean by inclusive growth? When was the idea specifically adopted as part of India's growth strategy? 15 marks, 600 words. So first of all, you have to define inclusive growth, and then you have to talk about India's history in adoption of the idea of inclusive growth. Okay. अब इसमें सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये होगा कि भाई 15 नंबर में क्या क्या लिखना है. We'll understand that, don't worry. First, let's go through what she has written and then we'll go forward. According to OECD, inclusive growth refers to economic growth that is distributed fairly across society and creates opportunities for all. Inclusive growth entails comprehensive growth, shared growth. Inclusive growth entails comprehensive growth, shared growth, and pro-poor growth. It ensures access to essential services and health and education by poor. Inclusive growth as an idea started in 1990s with liberalization. During this period, India transformed itself from an agrarian to a service economy. But the more concrete idea of inclusive growth was depicted in Niti Aayog strategy for India at 75 document. As per the document, three elements of inclusive development are skill development. India should harness its demographic dividend, in which currently there is 62.5% population in the age group of 15 to 59 years. According to UNICEF report, at least 47% of Indian youth are not on a path to achieve necessary employment skills. Addressing this issue by initiatives like Skill India Mission are the need of the hour. Financial inclusion, process of ensuring equitable access of financial services to vulnerable and backward groups. Initiatives like Jan Dhan Yojana are a step to ensure financial inclusion. Technological advancement in social areas like education, agriculture, health can help India leverage Industrial Revolution 4.0 to its maximum intent. National Supercomputing Mission, Digital India are a step towards ensuring technological advancement. Economic growth, 5 trillion economy by 2025. India is moving towards more capex expenditure to boost inclusive growth. Social development and empowerment of marginalized groups. However, there are certain challenges in the path to achieve inclusive growth. Poverty हमारी बहुत ज़्यादा है. Unemployment 8%. Lack of agricultural reforms. Average land holding. Very good. काफ़ी अच्छा आंसर लिखा है. I am very impressed with this answer. First of all, तो कीरत आपने बहुत ही अच्छा आंसर लिखा है. I must tell you. Let's go through what else you could have written. Although it's a very holistic answer. Okay. It is understood that development cannot be possible without empowerment and participation of every individual, especially the poor and excluded, who constitute majority of population. So we talk about inclusive growth by focusing on inequality, because inclusive growth is what? Growth that includes everyone. That means that there is minimal inequality. Okay. Growth is understood to be inclusive when there is social exclusion, economic inclusion, and political inclusion. सोशल इंक्लूजन में क्या क्या आता है हमने वो डाल दिया, इकोनॉमिक इंक्लूजन में, पॉलिटिकल इंक्लूजन में. The 11th five-year plan adopted the strategy of inclusive growth in India. It was the 11th five-year plan that came out first with the idea or strategy of inclusive growth. You have mentioned India at 75 report. I think that came a little later, probably 2015-16, around that time. But not completely factually correct, but I would not go against you for writing that we adopted this on India Niti Aayog's India at 75 report. Okay, it was based around poverty reduction, employment generation, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, एग्रीकल्चर, इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट, ये सारी चीज़ें आपने ये सारी चीज़ें मेंशन भी कर दी हैं. वन थिंग दैट यू हैव प्रॉब्ली नॉट टॉक्ड अबाउट इज स्कीम्स. सो वी कुड हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट a little about schemes as well. एक दो schemes के नाम लिख देते तो it would have been wonderful and icing on the cake. Beautiful answer, I must say. Let's come to your third question. Access to affordable, reliable. Please, this is for everyone. जो भी whoever is writing here, please don't assume कि because you have not written the answer, so it does not matter for you. You will only open your eyes and ears once your turn comes up. Okay, that will never happen. You have to try and get information, knowledge from wherever possible. So this is the perfect place because I'm checking others' answers, so you know कि आपका competition कैसा है, number one, and you also know what kind of answers other students are writing. What mistakes are they making, what good things are they doing. Okay, वो सारी चीज़ें आपको सीखने को मिल रही हैं. Access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy is the sine qua non to achieve sustainable development goals. Comment on the progress made in India in this regard. So you define sustainable development goals, that is the keyword here, and you then talk about how India has focused upon providing access to affordable, reliable and sustainable and modern energy. So this is more focused on energy sector in sustainable development goals. SDGs is not only about energy, it is about a lot of other things as well, but energy is one of the aspects. Let's see what the student has written. SDGs were adopted in 2015. It is a universal call to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. There are total 17 SDG goals. SDG 7 states that access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy is the prerequisite to achieve overall SDG. In this regard, there are 4 dimensions in which India has approached SDG 7. Beautiful introduction. Loved it. Access to affordable energy. There is a lot of variation in areas of energy in North and South India as compared to Northeast region. The main problem is non-availability, but that of is not availability but affordability. Reforms in rural electrification, national tariff policy to address this issue. ठीक है, the point makes sense, but not very impressive. Okay, अब देखो मेरा standard बढ़ गया because I'm reading your answer, so automatically I expect more from you. Sustainable energy in India, there used to be around 49% households who directly depended on forest for their cooking fuel. This method was an unsustainable method. Government initiatives like Uday Saubhagya has provided cooking fuel. ठीक है. From agriculture to education to health, all sectors requires immense energy. Smart grids, digital India target to achieve 175 gigawatt energy through renewables. ठीक है. Modern energy, coal still occupies 55% of total energy mix. Unsustainable practice and government of India aims to counter it. I think 55% नहीं है, ज़्यादा है. It's somewhere around 65 to 70%. Okay. Okay, so this is what you have written. Let's see what else could have been written. SDG 7 talks about access to affordable and clean energy. India understands the importance of access to energy for growth of its population. The following achievements and progress have been made in India in the field of energy. Question क्या था? Comment on the progress made in India in this regard. तो progress made in India भी बताना जरूरी था. 85% of people have access to electricity in India. 100% village electrification. Okay. 175 gigawatt sustainable energy systems. Microgrids, उज्ज्वला योजना, that has been mentioned by you. Natural gas का जो शेयर है वो बढ़ाना है. CO2 emissions, the target intended nationally determined goal that India has. Okay. तो ये सारे इंडिया के अचीवमेंट्स हैं दिस बार. but what you have written also makes complete sense. I would agree with it and I would go with it. I would give you good marks on that. You could have talked a little more about the progress made in India in this regard. आपने although हर point में थोड़ा थोड़ा बात किया है, so I would not reduce marks there. Okay, overall very good attempt. 30 marks, I'll very easily give you 70% marks here, 21. Okay, let's move forward. Let's try and discuss some questions and answers from here. Neeraj is a question. When I focus on 600 words, it is taking more time to think and write quality answers. Should I focus more on words or quality? Could you please give any tips on this, sir? The first focus is on quality, but ऐसा होता है जब आप लिख रहे होते हो ना, तो आपको दिमाग में रखना होता है साइमल्टेनियसली कि यार 600 वर्ड का है, तो मुझे 100 वर्ड का इंट्रो तो पेलना ही पेलना है, ठीक है ना. दैट इज समथिंग दैट यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड प्रायर टू राइटिंग द आंसर. सो व्हेन यू स्टार्ट राइटिंग द इंट्रोडक्शन, आपको ध्यान में रखना है कि यार 100 वर्ड का लिखना है, तो ऐसा नहीं एक स्टेटमेंट एक सेंटेंस लिख के इस तरह से एक्सप्लेन कर दिया कि अब मैं आई डोंट नो व्हाट टू राइट. ओके, तो आपको थोड़ा सा पहले से सोच के रखना पड़ता है. यू टू थिंक इन एडवांस, डिसाइड इन एडवांस दैट आई हैव टू राइट अ 100 word introduction. What all can I write? I have to define sustainable development goal. I can define it in one sentence. Okay. Any kind of sustainable development is any kind of development which does not harm the uh, resource availability of future generations. So that kind of development is sustainable development. You can start with that. There you can talk about sustainable development goals. Sustainable development goals are goals, non-binding goals, which are created through UN, agreed upon by all the member states. There are a total of 17 sustainable development goals which were agreed upon in 2015 under Paris Agreement. इस तरह से आप 100 सवा 100 वर्ड का 100 words probably you can try and create the introduction. So that ways you have to simultaneously focus on both of them. You cannot focus on one and leave out or completely ignore the other. Similarly, you can not completely focus on the word limit and ignore the quality. वो भी नहीं कर सकते हो. That will also be wrong. Okay. Okay, let's come here. Okay, we have 20 today. प्रशांत का उठाते हैं. Let's pick up section 2 of his. Write short notes on deficit financing and gross fiscal deficit. Question 3 पहले लिखा है इन्होंने. What is balance of payment of a country? Briefly point out the main reasons for persistent deficit in India's BOP. So you have to first define BOP, reasons for deficit in India's BOP. BOP is the aggregate of transactions done by Indian entities with outside world. BOP consists of 3 separate accounts: current, capital, reserve. Current account consists of all the transactions related to export and import of goods and services, net interest payments, grant and aids, remittances, etc. Current account transactions are of recurring nature and does not create asset and liabilities. Perfect. Capital account transactions consist of transactions of non-recurring nature. These are divided in firstly debt creating like external commercial borrowings and government borrowings, and secondly non-debt creating such as receiving principal of loan given to foreign entities and other inflows like FDI and FPI. ठीक है. Reserve account consists of foreign exchange reserves, SDR, reserve tranche and gold reserves. All these are mainly maintained by central bank. Beautiful introduction, very academic in nature, straightforward है. देखो यहाँ से this is what you get to learn. This is how you can write a perfect introduction जिसमें आपके नंबर काट ही नहीं सकता. Okay, the examiner, even if he wants to, even if he is pissed at you, even if he does not like you for any reason, let's say whatsoever, he cannot reduce marks. Okay, because he knows that you as a student, as an aspirant, completely understand what is a capital account, what is a current account. Main reasons for persistent deficit in India's BOP. India is highly dependent on oil imports for its energy needs. India imports 80 to 85%, 80 to 90% of its crude oil needs. Oil imports and volatility in the price of crude due to various factors increase the import bill. India's imports of edible oils, ठीक है, Indonesia, Malaysia, yes. Still highly dependent on imports of cheap capital goods from countries like China. In return, India only exports raw materials and primary products, which increases its trade deficit. Trade deficit with China last year was to the extent of more than $70 billion. I don't know if this number is correct, so you can rectify it, verify it a little. India is also highly dependent on imports for its defense needs from countries like Russia, USA and France. ठीक है. Let's see यहाँ पर if we have missed out on anything or not. Import substitution policy. Due to import substitution policy of India post-independence, the share of exports and external sector declined. The focus was on substituting imports with domestic production when it should have been on export promotion. Slow growth of export-oriented markets, stage of economic development, डिपेंडेंस ऑन इम्पोर्टेड ऑयल. देखो यहाँ पे डिफरेंस अब दिख रहा है थोड़ा सा. आपने जो बात करी है दैट इज़ नॉट रॉन्ग, देयर इज नथिंग रॉन्ग हेयर. You talked about imports of oil, you talked about imports of edible oils, you talked about imports of cheap capital goods. So in all the first 3 points you're talking about imports. In fact, in the fourth point also you're talking about imports. Okay, so in short you're talking about imports only in the 4 points. On the other hand, the sample answer tries to create a more holistic approach, tries to take a more holistic approach towards this by saying that imported oil is only one of the reasons of high imports in India. What are the other reasons? Stage of economic development. For developing countries, if deficit is on account of borrowings for capital formation, it is considered good for an economy as it results in asset creation. So the reasons were asked about balance of payment. Okay, if I'm not wrong. Yes, deficit in India's balance of payment. Balance of payment, as you had said, includes current capital and reserve account, all the three. But you skipped the capital account when talking about reasons of high India's BOP deficit. You skipped the capital account. So in the present stage of economic development that India is in, if we are importing a lot of or if our capital account is in deficit, then it's not bad for the economy. Okay, that is what is mentioned here. Slow growth of export oriented markets. तो हमारे एक्सपोर्ट जो हैं उनका जो ग्रोथ है वो कंपैरेटिवली स्लो है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू और in comparison with the imports. And then import substitution policy that we followed and we're still stuck on that. अभी चल रहा है ना vocal for local and all those things. The problem is it's completely fine, it makes sense, but then the moment you start ignoring the imports or you start relying too much on the domestic products, then you drive out competition, and that is harmful for an economy. Okay, competition drive out hota hai, the prices might increase. Okay, protectionism में convert ना हो जाए. Let's see if you've written question number 1. Yes, he has. Write short notes on gross fiscal deficit and deficit financing. Deficit financing and gross fiscal deficit. Let's see what has he written. Deficit financing is funding the gap of revenue and expenditure of a government by various means such as borrowing domestically or internationally. Deficit occurs when government expenditure is higher than revenue. Governments generally maintain a stable fiscal deficit of 2 to 3%. Deficit funds are generally utilized for capital expenditure. Not always true. There are instances of deficit funds utilized for consumption expenditure, which create a dangerous cycle of high fiscal deficit and can lead to BOP crisis. Deficit financing can be done by domestic and international borrowing. Let's see what has been written here. Deficit financing defined narrowly as change in government's indebtedness to Reserve Bank of India is an important part of planned financing in India and a key element in determining environment of monetary policy. Early years, there was consensus among India's policymakers about the need for deficit financing as a means of plugging the gap between ambitious investment plans and low levels of saving. The share of deficit financing declined from third 5-year plans only to rise again. ये पूरा यहाँ पे हिस्ट्री बताया हुआ है. ओके, बहुत टेक्निकल है आपका, मुझे बेटर लग रहा है बिकॉज सिंपल है. वो वाला जो सैम्पल आंसर है वो थोड़ा टेक्निकल है. आई वुड नॉट रिकमेंड राइटिंग समथिंग लाइक दैट. ओके, gross fiscal deficit, difference between total expenditure and total revenues, means the amount of money the government needs to borrow and to fund its expenditure. Developing economies generally maintain a fiscal deficit because there are higher needs of spending for different welfare schemes. Perfect. In India, due to FRBM, there was greater focus on accountability and discipline in maintaining an affordable level of deficit and gradually reduce current account deficit to zero and reduce fiscal deficit to 2 to 3%. Okay. Total debt to GDP ratio is thus 90%. This is an alarming situation. अभी 90% नहीं है, अभी I think कम है. Government needs to follow a clear roadmap given by Finance Commission to reduce deficit. अच्छा है. I think I really like your answers. I would want to give you a good percentage marks. So this is 20. तो अगर हम 14 दे सकते हैं, I think 70% around. Okay. So very good answer, I would say. I think all the other students should also get some idea कि इस इतने अच्छे answers students लिख रहे हैं. Okay. Let's pick up this one. It's just a number RT308. Let's see कि student ने क्या लिखा है. Let's pick up question number. Okay, he or she is also written question number 1 and 3. देखते हैं. ये आंसर नहीं किया है. Okay, let's start with the first question's answer. What do you mean by inclusive growth? Where was the idea? When was the idea adopted? Inclusive growth means growth of a nation in all the aspects, be it economically or socially. Economic, social, or I think financial tha. The third one was political. Political inclusion. Yes. For inclusive growth of a country, what needed is taking everyone together, no matter where he is, poor or rich, working continuously to achieve all the 17 SDGs and progressing in every aspect, be it providing basic to advanced education to everyone, providing employment, proper medical, government services to every corner of the country. Too long a sentence, that's the problem here. ये इतना लंबा sentence आपने लिखा है. So try to write shorter sentences. उससे क्या होगा, गलतियां भी कम होगी. You can minimize those mistakes. Inclusive growth of a nation can be classified into following aspects. Number one, providing good health and well-being to every citizen. Health वाला सही है point. Support it with facts. That's important. Education for all, one of the most important sector where government should work very closely. Education is one such sector which can indirectly impact every other sector, as an educated society has awareness about what is economically and socially good. बहुत बेसिक और बहुत जेनेरिक बातें लिखी हैं. दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. सपोर्ट इट विद फैक्ट्स. हाउ हैज एजुकेशन been an important parameter in ensuring inclusive growth, and what do the facts say? जिस तरह से पिछले आंसर में उन्होंने सपोर्ट किया था. Okay. Employment. By providing employment to each eligible individual is a must if we are looking to achieve inclusive growth. Hence, by providing employment, we can reduce poverty, and that will help a nation to grow inclusively. स्किल डेवलपमेंट, टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट, एग्रीकल्चर. इसमें इंडिया का जो अचीवमेंट है वो आपने बात नहीं करी है. द क्वेश्चन इज, प्लीज लिसन टू द क्वेश्चन केयरफुली. व्हेन वाज द आइडिया स्पेसिफिकली अडॉप्टेड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ इंडियाज ग्रोथ स्ट्रैटेजी? इसकी बात नहीं की गई है. ओके, इट वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू गिव इट due importance in the answer as well. Okay, you've just mentioned here it was in 1990s when India adopted inclusive growth, and since then we are growing at a good pace, but still a lot of work is needed. So वो maturity आंसर में कहीं ना कहीं visible नहीं है. Okay, I understand. I hope you understand कि क्या problem है. थर्ड क्वेश्चन देखते हैं एक बार. एक्सेस टू अफोर्डेबल, रिलायबल, सस्टेनेबल एंड मॉडर्न एनर्जी. तो एनर्जी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अचीविंग SDGs. Providing affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy is the seventh social sustainable development goal of the 17 sustainable development goals, and India is trying every possible effort to achieve this goal. India is working in various ways for providing affordable and clean energy. Below are various ways. Question क्या है? Progress made in India. India has achieved its target of 40% of installed capacity of electricity from non-fossil energy source by 2030 in November 2021 only. Apart from that, India has committed to COP26 Glasgow that India will achieve carbon neutral status by 2070, and also target to achieve 500 gigawatt till 2030. 500 gigawatt of what? India's installed renewable energy stands approximately at 150 gigawatt. ये अलग अलग है. Challenges in achieving the target. Finance, there is requirement of huge funding from government and investors is required. इसके ऊपर बात नहीं करी है that access to energy is sine qua non, मतलब mandatory to achieve SDGs. Okay, so it was important that in the introduction you talked about the importance of achieving affordable, reliable, clean energy target to have sustainable development goals, to have sustainable development. Okay, तो उसके ऊपर इंट्रोडक्शन में बात किया जा सकता. देन यू कुड हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट इंडियाज प्रोग्रेस. ओके, you talked about the challenges separately, but challenges are not asked in the question. तो उनको separately का बात करने का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है. They could have been talked about while discussing the achievements of India. कि अचीवमेंट इंडिया ने फाइनेंस में ये किया है, लैंड में ये किया है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल. ओके, ये किया है और ये नहीं किया है. ओके, आई विल गिव यू अ गुड close to 60%. थोड़े से there are some grammatical mistakes, sentence making mistakes. That's why I'm giving you a little less marks. But overall, I think it's very very good. ठीक है, चलिए. So it is 12. We've already discussed for almost 3 to 4 questions. काफ़ी सारे हमने आज उठा लिए questions और डिटेल में डिस्कस भी करे हैं. नेक्स्ट सेशन टुमारो इज़ ऑन फाइनेंस. कल का जो सेशन है वो फाइनेंस के ऊपर होने वाला है. So please be prepared. Try and prepare something in advance, practice something in advance, and take it as your final test only. तभी आप अच्छे से लिख पाएंगे. Okay, it is going to be a good mix of questions from finance as well as from management. Okay, please make sure that while writing these tests, you're saving the questions and answers. If you want to visit them later, you can also go to the descriptive course. एक बार मैं आपको दिखा देता हूँ. Once you go to this RBI phase 2 descriptive tests, this folder has previous year questions and this folder has 5 tests of ESI and 5 tests of management. ये टेस्ट सेम है जो अभी मैं आपको करवा रहा हूँ. तो थर्ड ESI टेस्ट इज एग्जैक्टली द सेम एज द टेस्ट दैट वी डिस्कस टुडे. तो वहाँ पर जाके भी प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हो. वहाँ पे इवैल्यूएशन होता रहेगा आपका. ठीक है, चलिए. Good one, good one. Bala, will you read mine? I don't know whether I've improved. This is my second attempt. Don't worry, Bala. लिखते रहिए. आपका नेक्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में उठा लेंगे. आई एम वेरी वेरी श्योर कि इम्प्रूव हो ही रहा होगा. डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट अ लॉट. आई विल ट्राई एंड पिक अप मोर टेस्ट टुमारो बिकॉज आई हैव अनदर सेशन टू रिकॉर्ड एंड टू टेक. तो कल ट्राई करेंगे कि हम और ज़्यादा उठा सकें क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स. हर एक क्वेश्चन के आंसर में ट्राई करेंगे कि एक क्वेश्चन का आंसर पढ़ के वी मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट स्टूडेंट, जिससे कि ज़्यादा स्टूडेंट्स को कवर कर सकें. ठीक है ना. ओके आशुतोष, आई विल टॉक विद द टीम टुडे और देखते हैं उनको आज ही इवेल्युएट करवाते हैं. ठीक है ना. सैम्पल आंसर PDF, यस आई विल स्टार्ट अपलोडिंग द सैम्पल आंसर्स PDFs. डोंट वरी, एक दो दिन में स्टार्ट करते हैं उसको भी. ठीक है, चलिए. ऑल द बेस्ट गाइज. टेक केयर. बाय बाय.